This video is brought to you by the 3-Minute Board Game patrons. Keep us independent by supporting us on Patreon. Kia ora koutou and welcome to Dwellings in Eldervale in about 3 minutes. It has a solo mode, it's a game for 1 to 5 players, playing time is long, and it's a moderately complex game. You are the leader of an elementally aligned fantasy faction. Can you conquer the world and build the most dwellings in Eldervale? The game ends shortly after the last hex tile is placed on the board, or if one player manages to place all 6 of their dwellings. The winner is the player with the most points, and you get these from many sources. Variable player powers. There are 8 player colors, each with 2 different factions. Dice. Conflict is resolved with dice rolls. Worker placement. You place your workers on locations to take actions. Player turn. Each player selects a color to play in a faction side, and then ensures the matching realm tiles are included in the game. You have a box full of tokens, your 6 dwellings, dragon, warrior, wizard, and 6 workers, as well as dice. There are also slots for each resource. Place 3 workers of your faction on your board and then set up the map. The map will have a mix of gold bordered realm tiles and elemental tiles of different colors. If a tile has a monster icon, grab the matching monster. On your turn, you'll place a meeple onto the board in any empty space. Later actions, you must place your meeples adjacent to previously placed ones. Warriors can be placed into an occupied slot as your first action, and wizards and dragons can be placed further away than adjacent spaces. You then take the action shown on that spot. For an elemental space, you take the top tile and place it into your supply. If the tiles have run out, you take the resource printed on the board. The gold spaces have fixed actions. The portal lets you pay resources to get new meeples. These 2 spaces let you trade resources for cards or gold. Gold is a wild card resource. The mill lets you place a dwelling, but more on that later, and the dungeon lets you place a new tile and buy special cards. Draw a tile and place it down along with a monster if applicable. You then buy 1 or 2 special cards if you spend the resources on their top right. Once you have taken your action, adjacent monsters may approach and attack you. You can reinforce them with nearby units and then roll dice for combat, with the highest number winning the fight. Winning a battle advances you on this track. Losing a battle sends your forces to the underworld, and you gain a sword, which may be spent to roll an extra die in a later battle. Instead of a placement action, you can withdraw, taking your meeples off the board 1 at a time and resolving abilities, like buying new workers, gathering resources, or building a new dwelling. Meeples from the underworld don't get to take an action. If you have a worker left on the board and take the build action, you can pay the cost on the hex and place a dwelling, scoring points for each adjacent gold tile or tile with a dwelling. That meeple is now locked in place. Your starting faction, gaining special cards, and building dwellings advances you on the matching track. Your position on that track shows how many points each of those symbols is worth to you at the end of the game. Reaching the end of a track grants you an orb, which can be spent on one-off awards or to power up cards. Why would you like this game? Dwellings of Eldervale is a very well produced game, and even the retail version I have, which doesn't have the plastic monsters which make noises, feels somewhat epic. It's very cool having 16 factions and 8 different themes to explore, and when you set up the game and get ready to play it, it does have a sense of majesty to it. Also like the action cards and the fun game altering effects they offer. But the game occupies this unusual game space, where it looks like a chaotic dice chucker, and in places it is, but in other areas it uses classic Eurogame mechanics. That blending of tones and styles won't be for everyone, but if this is in your sweet spot, I can see it being a forever game. The best thing about this game is the meeples and faction art. I love all of them. However, if you love dice chuckers, you might find the worker placement and engine building here grindy, and if you're a Euro purist, the dice rolling combat will annoy you. Dwellings is very much its own thing, but that thing is a little weird. Dwellings was reimagined as the more complex and sci-fi Andromeda's Edge, and for something tighter, try Tyrants of the Underdark. Dwellings of Eldervale, not your granddad's Catan. And if you enjoyed this video, hit the notification button, like, share, and subscribe to the channel.